back again. So, on this episode, you can see that it's slow going here. It's kind of a slog getting this fitment with the landing gear doors and fairings and all that. The last episode, which I think is still in the camera, I haven't posted it yet, but talked about getting the geometry of the landing gear doors correct to the landing gear legs, to the end goal of getting getting the gear to retract and all the way and still have the doors be flush. Now you can see we've still got a bit of a log jam here on the landing gear legs. Let me see if I get that all the way down. Alright, so when it's all the way down, this is we got a bit of a rub here on this back side, inside of the well. Probably on both sides it's gonna have to be cut away a little bit because it's causing a rotation of the gear leg, which we won't be able to have once it's cemented onto the piano wire core. So what I'm going to do now is just mark out for myself a little bit of a wedge shaped slice off of here and go ahead and cut that off on both sides and make room for these gear legs to be able to open and close without binding on that surface. Okay, so we'll do that. Also, I dressed up a little bit. We've got the hydraulic lines and the access covers. 3 access covers on each side. Boom, boom, boom. In here, I don't know if you can see that. 3 on each side, and then the 2 hydraulic lines that actuate the landing gear up and down. There should be a cylindrical reservoir or pump on each side here and here. So for that, I'm going to be cutting just a short length of this wood dowel. Put some, just sand the ends of it round, or maybe put some spare parts out of the old model kit bucket of spare parts. Put ends on it, either if I can find some that are suitable, or just one for each end where there would be a fitting. And then just plumb that, go ahead and plumb that into the ends of the hydraulic line, possibly. So that's a step that's coming. Get the pumps installed on each side, and then just finish dressing up these landing gear wells. Now, looking in hindsight, I was going to wait and put strips of the styrene evergreen plastic across here as the reinforcing strips. But then I didn't have the material on hand and decided just to go ahead and make the hydraulic lines, now, and fit them in there. I'll probably just forego the strips on this project and just leave the wheelbase just pretty much how they are right now. If I do anything else, I'll do it on camera or talk about it after. But for now, I'm thinking I'm just going to let that go. The time to really do that was before I installed these 2 sheets of birch ply, lined them out. I could have even just done it with pencil after painting it in the green color, lined it out with pencil, and that would have been fine. Can't really line it out now that it's in there. I can't get well, I'd have to cut to fit a straight edge, and I'm not feeling it at this point, so I'm just gonna let it go on this one. You'll just have to imagine you can see them there. Okay, flaps seem to be working all right still after multiple applications of filler and sand and seal, and we're working on the wings. I'm fairly amazed that those still work, but they do. So we'll call that good. We'll say okay. Let that happen. What else? So steps. Again, I'll just finish out with the hydraulic pumps on each side. Cut away some of this material on the back edge of the inner well here for the main door, and that'll free up the space for the landing gear legs. Once that's done, I can put the scissor link onto the struts, and then I can line those up with the door. And again, we're going to be oh, my thumb's twitching. That's new. Why is it doing that? So then I'll get a file and just channel out as it is on the actual landing gear. There's a channel that goes right down Main Street here on the back side of these gear doors. So I'll get those tunneled out, and then these do not get that same treatment. These will remain flat. They actually stand off from the landing gear leg, is why that is. When these are installed, they'll actually be pressed really tight. Actually, this end of the landing gear leg will almost be touching the exterior side of this, the birch ply. That's how deep that channel is. Not so much at the top. The top is not quite standing off, but it's not buried that deeply. It's channeled all the way up, and this top rung here on the top of the oleo strut should actually set in there pretty close to the birch ply face, but not all the way up against it, as this end will be all the way into it. I've applied some of the sand and seal. I'll put some filler onto these to try and get rid of that. That's just one application, probably do 2 or 3, just to make sure we get all that wood grain off. The primer paint should take care of it too. There's not a whole lot of grain that shows through the birch ply. That's one of the beautiful things about it. You don't have to treat it too much to eliminate wood grain from a painted, if you're going to paint them. And again, this product, after I get all my sand and seal and all of my filler on there, I always prime everything with this stuff and then sand it, and this really acts as a terrific filler for the finer grain that might have shown through. So 3-step process on the filler and paint prep. 3 steps. It's the Sherwin-Williams, it's the sand and seal, and it's that Tamiya surface primer. All that goes on and is sanded down to about 1,000 grit. I go over the whole surface of the entire airplane with the 1,000 grit sandpaper after I've applied this stuff, and then that gets wiped off. All the dust gets wiped off and cleaned off, and then we're ready for that's paint prep, and then we're ready to start either the white primer or getting right into the color coats, depending on, again, this is a gray primer, so putting lighter colors over this isn't ideal. Any place where you're going to have a white, light yellow, that kind of thing, you want to use this in a white. They make it in white and this gray. So that's something to keep in mind. Anyway, this stuff's great. Don't have to do a whole lot of surface prep with it, the birch ply. This side will have to be treated a few more times with filler. Alright, 4th of July, fireworks. And actually, this year's be the first year down here we're going to have the drone show. So that's good for the dogs. Well, unfortunately, everybody else has got their own fireworks, and so it's just going to be the business as usual. But at least the big show will be quieter. Alright, so anyway, these have been sanded and fillered and sand and seal prepped with 1 treatment. They'll probably get 2 or 3 more treatments of that. Rub some more of that filler into them, paint some more of the sand and seal, sand the bejeebers out of it with 120 grit, I think. That's what I'm using on these. That's around here somewhere. 120 grit. And then as we get close again with the gray Tamiya surface primer, is this Tamiya? Yeah. Then the final sanding before actual silver paint gets applied to these will be the 1,000 grit sandpaper and the Tamiya surface primer. So everything's coming together. It's just slow right now. This is slow. And I've got other obligations pulling me away from the work, but you know, we're getting there. You can see there's progress, video by video. Anyway, thanks for watching. Everybody have a great day. Happy Independence Day.